Hello everyone and welcome to Igor's Japanese Language Dojo, the BLITZ series, in which I cover a single expression or construction from Japanese grammar in record time. The topic of our first video in this series will be the noun plus sae, verb in ba form construction, or in English, as long as. So without further ado, let's see what this construction is all about. So here you have the summary of this construction. Now, the first thing you need to know about it is that it's equivalent to the English as long as, and this is the most frequent translation that you will stumble upon if you ever see this construction in practice. Also, you need to know that it essentially forms a conditional sentence where the condition is marked with sae in the first clause, which is finished with ba, and that clause must be fulfilled, or more precisely, the condition marked with sae must be fulfilled in order for the second clause to be executed. However, there are a couple of prerequisites that you need to know beforehand in order to master this construction. First, you need to know what is sae, and sae is roughly equivalent to the English even or not even. But the most important thing is that you need to know how to form the ba conditional. I will be posting a link to the video in which I have explained how to form the ba conditional and its most important characteristics in the description below and in the card thing in the upper right corner. So this is all the necessary information you need to know behind how this construction works, and now we will be moving on to the examples. So let's see this construction in action in our examples. Our first example goes as follows. Yaruki sae areba nani demo ga hatasemasu. If you have enough motivation, you can accomplish anything. And this first sentence already establishes all the requirements that you need to know in order for to use this construction properly in your everyday Japanese, both written and spoken. First, you must understand that the first clause of the sentence is essentially one big condition. And in that one big condition, there are two parts. First, there is the element or object, if you like to think of it that way, that is highlighted with sae, and after that we are providing a descriptive verb, or if you want to say an appropriate verb to that element. And here we are saying that you need to have enough motivation. And motivation here, as the noun, is being highlighted with sae, fulfilling that role of the first part of the big condition, and the element that is fulfilling the second part of being that big condition is the verb to have, but changed in its ba conditional form. So you should think about this construction in that way in order to remember it more easily and use it correctly. So always think about it in that way, that it forms a big condition in the first clause, and you need to have the element or the object emphasized explicitly with sae, and that the corresponding verb to that object or the appropriate verb for that object must always be in its ba form. This is even more illustrated in our second example. Okane sae tarireba doko demo ryoko dekimasu. As long as you have enough money, you can travel anywhere. As you see here, the big condition here in our first clause is the fact that you need to have enough money. And we are emphasizing money here with sae. And after that, to have enough, there is a specific verb in the Japanese language, that is the verb tariru, and we can see here that it has been changed into its ba conditional form. So once again, that is the thing that you need to remember. Always look at the first clause as one big condition for the second clause to be true. And also I would like you to note one thing. Notice how here there is no ga particle, and that is because sae here replaces it. And our final example is something a bit more practical. Bungaku no kyomi sae areba dare demo nyubu dekimasu. Anyone who has an interest in literature can join the club. Once again, Let's examine the first clause, the big condition of our sentence that is present in it, and we have highlighted here with Sae that interest in literature that is prerequisite for entering the club, and the verb to have, aru, that is changed into the ba conditional form. So once again, remember, always the conditional clause when using this construction has two elements. First, the noun or the object or the element, however you like to call it, is always pronounced with sai, and after that the corresponding verb or the appropriate verb for that is transformed into the ba conditional form. I suggest that you remember this construct, let's say by the second example. I find it to be the most accessible one because it really, let's say, makes the entire construction a whole lot more, let's say, understandable, because you need to have money first, then you need to have enough of it in order for the second clause to be true, or so that you can travel anywhere. So in quick summary of all of these examples, as you can see here, once again, the most important part is that the first clause is one big condition that is, let's say, formed by two elements. First, the noun or the object that is emphasized with sai, and then the corresponding or the appropriate verb that is turned into the ba conditional form. And the second thing is the flexibility of the translation, although as long as is often used, you will always, let's say, you will from time to time stumble upon if or something more similar. So that is all you need to know about noun plus sai, verb plus ba construction. And let's deliver the finishing blow to see what we have learned today. We have learned that the common translation for this construction can be really flexible, and it is usually as long as, or you can stumble upon if or if only, as I have said before. Also, you need to remember that the particles wo and ga are replaced by sai in this construction, as we have seen, especially in our second example. And third, the entire construction is basically acting like the ba conditional. This is the most useful and most, let's say, practical way of remembering it. So as long as the stated condition in the A clause is true, then the action or event expressed in the B clause will happen, or it will be true. So essentially this is all that you need to know about the construct noun plus sai, verb plus ba, or how to express as long as. Otsukare-sama deshita, my dear Shokun. Thank you for watching the first video in the BLITZ series, and I really hope that this construction is now easier for you to understand, that you already know how it works, and that you are even more determined to practice it and master it. So if you like this series, please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and I hope to see you next time in the dojo. Sayonara!